Hey, happy Sunday, everybody. Look, I know that my show is called Anthony at Home and Cooking with the Sopranos. And today, to be honest, we're doing neither of those. We're not at home and we're not cooking. But there's a really good question that needs to be asked. What is grappa? Supposedly it makes you feel better. We see Tony and the boys go visit Jackie in the hospital.
You look good. What do they got, grappa in this thing?
Oh, I wish.
I'm pretty sure I don't know a single nurse that would actually put grappa in an IV. Obviously, he's just having some fun with his buddy. It still begs the question, what is grappa? A lot of us Americans don't really know about it. So I came to a local distillery near my hometown to ask this solid question. What is grappa? Today I'm at Bethel Rd Distillery in Templeton. I've told you about Templeton before. It's also where I got my honey at Nature's Touch. We're gonna ask Max, one of the founders, what is grappa and how do you make it here? And we'll also be trying it with Caitlin, one of the tasting room associates. Yeah, I skimmed your about me, and that's kind of cool, the family dynamic of, I guess technically we're already rolling and going, so but we'll just go into it. Yeah, so you guys, second generation, or your parents had the winery?
Yeah, so my parents started Castro Cellars in '83, and they've been in the Central Coast. You know, my dad went to Cal Poly, my mom moved over from Denmark and to Cuesta. They stuck around after studies and weren't sure what they were going to do. My dad picked up a harvest gig to fill some time because he wasn't sure what he was going to do next, and then that turned into more of a long-term position there. Started getting interested in the winemaking side and eventually started making wine out of that winery for himself and friends. My mom started selling it because they had more than just a few cases, finding outlets for it, and then he was like, I think we can do this, for more a real effect. Yeah. So it snowballed, and then it's kind of grown, and now we have all of our own estate-grown grapes, our own winemaking facility, the tasting room just across the street from here on Bethel Rd, and the property on this side came up for sale in 2014, kind of a rundown piece of property, unfortunately.
Right.
So it was a big project to take it on, and at that time we'd started distilling, and we needed a place to kind of have a front of the house and a more solid production facility. And this was about to go into foreclosure. We looked at it and said, I think we can take it on as an investment to kind of upkeep the property and bring it back to life. It became the home for Bethel Rd, and we're on Bethel Rd here, so it kind of makes sense.
Yeah, if you're looking for the place, look for the road it's on. But that's great. So it's you and your brother, and it's like you're your own business, but you're really still attached. It's like a nice family
same
structure.
ownership. We have a different brand and full business over here on this side because we are making spirits, which is, if you already have a wine label, it can be confusing to introduce a spirits label on top of that. So we wanted to have its own identity, but also we're making small lots of wine here from our estate-grown grapes, producing them slightly differently, doing some experimental stuff with our wine program, which is really fun and unique too. So really small lots, we play with concrete, different barrel profiles. And my fiance Melina and I run the day-to-day operations for the distillery, and Bro's involved in the marketing side and that kind of stuff.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, so the main reason for this visit, at one point in Sopranos, several points, they mentioned grappa. I think most Americans are like, what the hell is grappa, right?
Yeah.
And it's
either you don't know what it is, or if you do in America, usually you're cringing because you've had some terrible grappa at some point, which there is a lot of bad grappa out there, or harsh, I would say. But if you get really good quality grappa from Italy or produced, around the world, there's some awesome grappas out there. But a lot of times what we get in the States is imported and the lower end versions of those kind of grappas. So yeah, either you don't know what it is, or you kind of have this negative connotation with the product. So something we always deal with in here is introducing people to our version of grappa and kind of change their minds.
I lived in Australia for a little while, and I lived kind of near, I don't want to be sued before I'm even famous, so I live near a major wine producer that we have been seeing a lot of here in the U.S. And I asked my Aussie family about that. I'm like, what's with all the fill in the blank? And he goes, oh, we think it's crap, so we send it to you. Yeah. Do you think that that's what Italy's really doing to us, or like, do you think maybe they hoard their best stuff for themselves?
I think a lot of grappas, the good grappas, are produced in really small batches, so they're not going to get exported. We're not going to see them that much. I think there's that issue, and then the ones that are mass produced are just not going to be as high quality and distinguishable. And if you're not sure what you're seeking out, you're not going to know what to look for to find a quality grappa. A lot of times the big box grappas we get are not the premium grappa.
Gotcha. Yeah. Grappa is essentially brandy, right?
It's a category of brandy, yeah. So the category of brandy is just a fruit distillate.
Okay.
And whiskey being a grain-based distillate, rum coming from sugar cane or molasses. So there's the different main categories, and then a subcategory of brandy is grappa, and that means that it has to be produced using the pumice left behind after you've made your wine.
Now for EJ, my cameraman, who doesn't know what that word is, my dad always referred to it as the cake, right? So like you crush the grapes, and when you take the size of the presses away and then have this thing that looks like a cake, basically it's the squishified grapes.
Yeah,
right?
I would say pumice or marc, there's a couple different terms to put it. It's just the skins, seeds, and stems, anything left behind after you've pressed off either the juice in a white wine after you've fermented with the skins. With the red wine, you press that off, you get your drinkable red wine that's already been fermented, but you leave behind that particular mask. So whatever is left behind is the pumice.
So it's a really great way to just juice a grape for everything it's worth. Like not only are you getting a good wine out of it, but you're getting the second batch of your
it's a complete reuse kind of model for grappa, and that's the biggest difference. Where brandy, you're distilling just actual wine. The product that we would then cellar and age and drink as a wine after fermentation, rather than going through that process, we literally distill. We get a distillate that would be your brandy. Using wine compared to a grappa, you're using the actual pumice that's left behind, so it's a byproduct situation. And then that comes from Italy from a long time ago, because they were trying to utilize every last thing they could.
Right.
And it was kind of the peasants, the lower class drink of choice, because it's something that there's a left behind byproduct after winemaking. They would take that pumice, find a use for it. Basically, what you're doing with the pumice, you're washing with water to reclaim alcohol that's present, that can't all be extracted during the press. And then that's a really low alcoholic, anywhere from like 5 to 10%, which doesn't store great, and so it doesn't last long. But running through the still, you consolidate that alcohol out of that wash, and now you have something that will be stronger, last longer, and something to keep warm in the winter, and you can store away, and it doesn't go bad. So that was a big part of where the idea of grappa came from.
Makes sense. Sure. But anyway, so you guys have two here at Bethel. Yeah. Moscato Primitivo.
Yeah, those are the two grappas we make. So they're coming from two different grape varietals. Moscato is a white grape varietal. Primitivo is Italian Clone Zinfandel. So another Italian varietal that is a red wine. So they're two different grape varietals, but it totally changes the flavor of the grappa, as you can imagine.
Right.
Using a different type of grape.
Everything else is kind of like you guys use the same kind of barrels for. Or
for the brandies, we have two different brandies that we kind of put through two different barrel programs, and those are aged. But the grappas for us are unaged. We have put some grappa in barrels to kind of see how they progress over time, which in Italy they do as well, but less common. More so, it's a clean or a neutral, I guess, unaged spirit, and so it's clear. As all spirits start off, unless they are aged in barrels. We use Moscato because it's super expressive in that white varietal. We've tried out a number of varietals, but we really like how the Moscato and the Primitivo have turned out. They're very different from each other, so it's nice to show people, showcase that using a different grape varietal to produce a grappa makes a different flavored grappa.
And then Primitivo, red wine made, but still clear.
Yeah, when you're distilling, you're basically boiling or bringing a pot. Not quite to boiling, because alcohol evaporates at 172 degrees and water boils at 212 degrees, right? So you bring it up to temperature where you're just evaporating the alcohol away from the base product that you're distilling, and then you're condensing that in that process, going from a vapor back to a liquid. There's no color that comes along with it, so it comes out crystal clear after distillation.
Excellent. Well, I've tried some of your other products here. I'm looking forward to try your grappa.
So you've had a chance to talk to Max Usen, who is our head distiller here at Bethel Rd Distillery, and now we're gonna.
And now I'm talking to Caitlin.
Yeah, Caitlin. Hello.
How long have you been here?
I've been here for just over 2 years. Been here for about 2.5 years.
Are you in the family too?
Not a member of the family, no, but I have known them for quite some time. I kind of watched the slow build out of this whole project, And then once the tasting room was open, I had the opportunity to come on board.
Excellent. And then we have
Absolutely.
the two grappas. Is there one that you suggest doing before the other? Like as far as like wine tastings, do you want to like start on one end and go to the other?
We recommend the Moscato Grappa first. They're both 90 proof, so it's going to be about the same, kind of kick. Moscato's a little more delicate with a lot of really floral notes and
It's
a
a
little
delicate
bit of
kick.
citrus. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Are you going to do one with me?
I mean,
EJ doesn't need it.
just in case we need it. I know not everyone likes to waste, but
I'm certainly not a waster.
beautiful.
Salud.
Cheers.
I can't take the time to smell it, but
Yeah, so usually when you're tasting spirits, you want to give a little waft under your nose. They're really volatile things, so it's already projecting all those aromatics up at you. So a little waft is really nice. It's a Glencairn glass, which is actually a whiskey tasting glass, but it's really perfect for our purposes here, especially with our other aged brandies. We do one that's more like whiskey, aged in only the New American Char Oak barrels.
I am in love with that.
It's really special, typically as a digestive, but something like this you can mix into a cocktail and really express those really like soft floral notes, but it still does pack a nice little punch.
Well, actually, on your website, you have a cocktail recommendation for this.
Yes.
Which I'll be trying later. One of them is the Grappa Sour, and the other one is...
I think it's called Whale on the Rocks.
Whale on the Rocks is correct,
and
yes.
That's the Moscato Grappa. I think it's got some grenadine. Pretty simple, that way you can still showcase all the flavors without overpowering it.
I mean, I'm a big fan of Moscato.
Yeah.
I'm a wino to begin with, and I love the sweet end of the spectrum, which that's Moscato, that's where it lives, on the sweet end of the spectrum. I'm also a big fan of alcohol, so this is just kicked up Moscato.
Exactly.
And it's
this is
amazing.
the essence, just kind of, isolated, but not distilled to the point where it's neutral and flavorless. You're still getting that essence of the grape skin from the Moscatos. Definitely a little more expressive. This Primitivo one here tends to be a little more subtle. Some people even kind of have a sense that it's more like a tequila.
Oh, okay.
So we have done a Grapparita with this, a little of our neighbor Yes Cocktail. They do a bunch of custom syrups, but they make a blood orange chili syrup.
Oh my goodness.
So with that and a little fresh lime juice, this one is really special as well. So,
It smells like a tequila.
It's definitely a spicier kind of profile overall. The Primitivo is the Italian Zinfandel grape, so it's naturally just like a spicier kind of varietal.
Italians are?
Yes, hey, I'm about a quarter Italian, so I share in that spice with you.
When I was a kid, I was like, God, why did you give me the Italian nose? And then I turned 21, and I started drinking wine, and I was like, good looking out.
Taking the full, the bouquet of everything. So you need more equipment to do that with.
I got it. So I'm good now.
And that's the kind of the rule with the spirit tasting, is it's more of like a little kiss. So you want to get just a bit on your lips and on your tongue, and then it's really just what is that?
Little kiss.
Little kiss. Beautiful. So really nice on its own. Often you'll see the cafe corretto, which is a corrected coffee with just a little espresso. You can kind of rinse out the glass with your grappa first, or just splash it right in there. But you often see it as a pairing with coffee after a meal, or espresso after a meal, just to keep everything,
This would definitely taste great with an espresso.
This is one of the only types of spirits where we have it varietal specific. Everything else is going to be distilled from, whatever wines we have on hand, whatever, we can access. So these two, it's really nice to do varietal specific, because then you really do get like the full kind of understanding of that grape and all of its properties. So kind of like the wines, but this is, a special way to treat each grape.
The Primitivo, it's a generic delicious, but I'm really in love with the Moscato. That handles the flavor of Moscato so delicately for being such a strong drink. It's a weird analogy, but it's like when I hold my goddaughter. Like she's this sweet little delicate thing, and I'm just this bulk of man. The way I handle her is almost like the way that this handles the flavor of the Moscato. It's like, oh no, it's still very present. Like, don't let the bulk of man, don't let the bulk of alcohol throw you off. Like, there's still that beautiful, delicate, like, lily-like nature of the Moscato.
Very much so. That floral is so expressive, especially when you compare it to the Primitivo, which is a more, it's round and it's full, but a little more subtle. This one's a lot more showy and definitely Yeah, so you do get that heat, but you also get that like lingering finish of all that floral and that like really delicate citrus in there as well.
I like analogies. They're like
Yes.
metaphors.
Yeah. Here we go. We need another round of this now.
I'm down. I'm good.
Is there anything else you want to try while you're here? We've got another Italian traditional liqueur,
Oh, absolutely.
which is the Nochino. So Nochino actually translates to, do you know this? If you're a bit of Italian?
No,
Okay.
this is new for me.
Nochino is little walnut in Italian.
Oh, okay.
Named really aptly because we actually pick all the walnuts while they're still green and unripe.
Okay.
So it's a young walnut. It's, you're able to access sort of all the walnut oil before the shell hardens.
Gotcha.
So basically go around the estate here where there's plenty of walnuts to be picked. We're actually making the next batch next week.
So it's like veal of walnut.
Yeah.
It's walnut veal.
Walnut veal.
Before the hardships
forever.
of life
Yeah.
harden it and jaded.
Absolutely. Definitely, yeah, it's really special. So we pick all the walnuts while they're green and unripe. We bring them back here. The full staff participates in this, so we're climbing up in the trees and grabbing them.
That's awesome.
And then we bring them here. So it'll sit with the neutral brandy base as well as the walnuts, the cloves, and cinnamon for 4 months.
That
So
smells like Christmas.
absolutely. And yeah, next the goal is we will, harvest the walnuts in July, and that way 4 months later we're getting into holiday season. So this is a really nice something, again, with your espresso, with your coffee. We do a treatment here with a little cold brew coffee and coconut cream and some cinnamon. Yes, really lovely.
I want to try that.
So because it is liqueur, we are also adding the sugar in the end there, especially with this one, it helps us balance out the bitterness of the walnuts. And you just kind of get that warm, spicy finish from the clove and the cinnamon.
I mean, we live on the beautiful Central Coast. It's not like we know what snow is.
No.
But like if
But you could
but if
pretend.
you rented a cabin in Tahoe, this is what I would take with me to sit by the fire.
It's it's something really nice too because it is such a it's a big liqueur. There's a lot going on in there with all that spice. It seems like it should just be like a winter thing, but you can also use this in like a walnut old fashioned or a black Manhattan. They typically
old-fashioned
walnut
would be
old
really
fashioned,
good, yeah.
because it'll cut through that richness, but you get those layers of like warmth and spice in there still.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah, something fun.
was so much above and beyond what I had. This is
Good.
great. You've been amazing. Caitlin.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I mean, off camera, we're definitely going to hang out and do a flight.
These are the ones that are not on the flight menu, so we'll try everything else, and then you'll get to experience everything we make here.
Great. If you're on the Central Coast, you should definitely be swinging by Templeton. I love this little town. I've told you to come by Templeton before to get your honey at Nature's Touch Nursery, but now you have Bethel Rd Distillery to add on to the list. Thank you, Caitlin.
Thank you.
Make sure to let Max know. Thank you. I don't remember saying thank you. I think I did, but anyways, and again, it's on Bethel Rd, by the way.
Thank you.